Welcome to World of Marketing Podcast, a Foster Web Marketing production. Here's your host, Tom Foster.
Everybody, it's Tom Foster on the World of Marketing, and I have my buddy, and I've been chasing this guy for a long time, my buddy, Richard James. Richard James, so great to have you on my podcast. Thank you so much for being here, buddy.
Hey, Tom, it's a real pleasure of mine. You know, we've known each other for a while, so you know that I get real excited about this stuff. You also know that we've known each other for, we say a while, but like we're dating ourselves here. It's like 2010-ish, 2012-ish, so 10 or 12 years.
Yeah.
We've been in and out of each other's worlds, but we've watched one another grow, and you were more into it than I was when I got started in this industry. And now we've been able to watch all the wonderful things you've been able to do for your clients. And I hope we've been able to help a client or two along the way too. And we've just learned an awful lot about this process of owning, managing, marketing, and lead generating and converting for small law firms, right?
Well, you have just, yes, we met years ago and you have catapulted. That's what I want to talk about is like what you have done. I mean, like, I remember when you came on the scene, meeting you at GLM, many, many years ago. You had that little booth and you were, set up and you're, here's the process of how to become a better business owner for attorneys. And I think that's where you got one of your first clients, right?
That's it. Yeah, I decided I had built the law firm in Phoenix. And after that,
tell us about that. Tell us about building this law firm in Phoenix. What did you do?
All right. So let me give you some quick backstory.
Yeah. Give the backstory.
So look, I've been in small business since I was 18 years old. I'm 52 as of this date. So, do the math, right? 34-ish years, started learning how to sell in the insurance business in the late 80s. Loved it. Grandfather died in when I was 22 years old, 1992. And my uncle said, "Hey, Grandpa died. You need to get your head out of your rear end. How about I show you how to be a man and run a business?" I took him up on the offer,
Nice.
and I had enough courage to say, "But you have to be willing to sell me the funeral home because I want to be a business owner." And he agreed, which was great. So he sold me my first funeral home when I was 25. I had 3 funeral homes by the time I was 28.
Wow.
And we were doing really well, but I love sales and marketing, and you really couldn't hang a sign on the side of the building that said buy one, get one free in the funeral business.
How old were you when you had these funeral homes?
20, 25.
Wow. Okay. Incredible.
So then I decided, my uncle with his blessing said, "Hey, why don't you take your cash and go buy something other than another funeral home?" Because I was about to buy my next one. And so I found a pet supply company, and we believe it or not, went from funeral homes to pet supplies that specialized in.
So you're a 25-year-old kid. You're 25 years old.
At this point, I'm 20. At this point, I'm 29. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
But you're in your 20s.
Yeah, I'm in my 20s.
And you own 3 funeral homes with staff.
Yeah.
There's staff.
Yeah. Two funeral homes and a half, let's call it, because I was a partner in the other.
Okay.
And yeah. So now I'm 32. I own a pet supply company. We've got manufacturer in China. We've got warehouse and distribution. I mean, everything there is to know about this, I had to learn from the scratch, and grew it, from 500 customers to 1,500 customers, and did really well. Sold the funeral homes when I was 34. And in 2008, we didn't realize I'd never lived through a recession as a business owner. And the honest to God truth is I got my rear end handed to me. And we were millions of dollars in debt with inventory in China and on the water, and the business dried up for lots and lots of reasons, primarily the major recession. And we had to start all over again. And we had moved to Phoenix or at that same time. And I met a guy that worked with law firms, and he's unfortunately passed away now. But he and I started teaching what I call the DNA of the 7-figure law firm. That's what he asked me to do. And so I started traveling with him, teaching law firms how to do what I did in small business. And the reason he asked me to do is because we were in the same mastermind group. And I started helping him, and I fixed his business. And then he said, "Well, geez, can you do what you did for me, but for my clients?" And his clients were lawyers. And then that led to me speaking on stage. And then the guy saw me in Vegas speaking on stage and said, "Hey, I'm building a new firm in Phoenix. would you like to take your crazy ideas and build this new firm with me? And I'm like, sure. And so he and I literally shared a desk. He was on one side of the desk. I was on the other side of the desk in an executive suite. We started with one employee and grew the firm from, two guys in a room to $3.5 million in annual gross sales in a couple of years. And
wow.
the best part about it was we grew it in a way that, that owner had never taken a vacation before. And that's really what he wanted. He already built one firm, and he was breaking away from his partner, and he wanted to build another firm. But the first firm, he worked, 70 hours a week. The same old story that every lawyer, many lawyers have, never get home in time for dinner, could never have a weekend off, could never take a vacation without their cell phone or laptop, had no idea how they were going to dig out of the hole they found themselves in, weren't as profitable as they probably should have been. And, unfortunately, his life was kind of miserable, and it put stress on that partnership. And so when we started the new firm, it was really with this idea of, okay, we're going to build it so you can be free. I said, I need 6 months of your time. You got to hammer away at it for 6 months. And then after that, we can start working in your freedom. And, within the first year, he was able to take a month off and go to Turks and Caicos, and he didn't have to work nights, and he was able to be home on the weekend. We kind of swapped weekends on and off. And, it was a great story. That then led to, one guy or gal saying, hey, I heard what you did for so-and-so.
Okay, wait, let me pause for a minute here, sure, because I just want to point something out. So so you're not a lawyer.
No.
You're not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. No. You're not a lawyer, but you sat with a lawyer. He was being the lawyer. You were being the businessman. Mm-hmm. And you were helping him build his business while he was doing the law.
Correct. I did everything but the law.
You did all the business part.
Everything.
So that's how you built up this $3.5 million business.
Yeah. And look, I just took everything.
And you learned all the processes. That's where you learned that's where you learned. That's how you cut your teeth.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's how I cut my teeth in law for sure. But I just look, when I first started doing this, I was telling funeral home stories and pet supplies stories and insurance sales stories, right? Because I didn't have any law firm stories.
Now you have law firm stories.
Yeah, but I didn't have any of that then. So I was like, it's at some point I was, flying a little bit blind, But
it's very cool. But it's really cool because lawyers need this. This is exactly. And, I just referred one of my clients to you, as you know, in email, because he's having that same dilemma. He needs you sitting across the desk from him to run the business while he practices law. And this is exactly why everybody needs a Richard James or Richard James himself. And you're pretty choosy about who you work with.
Yeah, because see, I can't be me.
You're only one man.
I can't duplicate myself in everybody's business, right? So that means I can only now I have to
give a lot. Yeah,
I only can work with somebody who actually.
Sure.
So most attorneys invested a whole bunch of time and money and resources into becoming a really, really great attorney, and they're excellent at what they do. But if they're honest with themselves, the amount of time, money, and resources they've invested to become a small business owner is much smaller, right? And much less significant. So my job is to fill the gap, but I have to find owners of small law firms who actually want to improve their business acumen. See, I'm a mentor. My mentor is Dan Kennedy. And he promised me when I started working with him in 2004, that the gift he was going to give me was that I could operate a business in any country where I speak the language, and within 6 months I could have a 6-figure business up and running because of the skills that he gave me, right? And so I have set that as my own personal mission mantra. Like all of my guys and gals, when they work with in our world, my goal is to make it so regardless of the business they choose to operate, that I'm giving them the skills to be able to operate a small business. See, I don't view it as their lawyers. I view it as they're small business owners who happen to choose law as their service providing, right? And so that's a paradigm shift in thinking. And so they have to be willing to go there with me in order for me to be able to help them. Because if they won't go there, we're not going to get along. If they just want to be the lawyer and hope somebody else is going to run the business and they don't want to learn about all that stuff, they're going to get frustrated with us.
Right. Yeah, you got to have a team player. You got to have them involved. They've got to be involved. That's the same thing that we go through.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, in your business, right? They want all the great things that you can offer them, and you can do most of it, but you need like 10 or 15% of their effort to get you across the finish line. And there's some deliverables they've got to give you. And like, how maddening is it for somebody to say, here, take my money and make me a good thing. You're like, okay, I only need this much from you. And they don't get it to you, right?
Right.
It's maddening.
And then they blame you for failure.
Then they blame you. Right. And so, so I decided, right or wrong, to just cut that out of the chase. Like, I get rid of that issue, right? Which is saying, look, if you don't go through these things, we're probably not a fit. Unlike you and I, your business is done for you, right? You need very little from them, and you guys will do it for them, which is, man, I love that, because I love my clients need partners like you that will do it for them, right? In my world, I require my clients to be willing to change a little bit. And that's a big difference. And so it's not right or wrong. It's not good or bad. It just is.
How do you mean? Like, how do you mean that?
They have to be willing to take off the lawyer hat and put on the small business owner hat.
Oh, right.
They have to. It is two dramatically different thought processes.
Sure.
I mean, here's the great news. This is what I love. So almost all of my attorneys are wildly more intelligent than I am. Okay. I don't know an awful lot about an awful lot, but I know an awful lot about a very little. Like I'm like an inch wide and a mile deep, right? Once my guys and gals get it. So once they go, oh, this is what he's trying to say. What I love about this, attorneys are wickedly intelligent, right? And they get it quick. I just have to get them to that point where they're willing to get it. And once they get it, they're like, oh, and most of the time what I hear is, Rich has been telling me to do this for years, and like, I never did it. And then finally, like this year I did it, and oh my gosh, my business is up 25%, right? It fill in the blank of one little thing I've been asking them to do. And for whatever reason, it didn't make sense to them. It wasn't right timing. It just wasn't something they wanted to do. And then all of a sudden they did it and it worked. And now, because of their intelligence level and their work ethic, because most of them know how to work hard, they're addicted. Like, they want more of this, right? It's fun. It's fun. It's a lot of fun to watch these guys succeed. My greatest joy.
It is. I agree with you on that. It is so fun when they succeed. And, of course, you've been a part of that and you feel some pride and, sense of accomplishment.
How awesome it must feel to you, Tom, that as you took them from where they were, some underperforming, online marketing campaign, and you take them to high performing machine that converts their leads and gets them more clients. And they just, you get a thank you letter and you're oh my gosh, isn't that amazing?
That's what I do it for. I mean, like, I've been doing this 25 years, and that's what I get out of bed for, is to, help the client. And the client that I referred to you, that's a classic example of, like, he was, getting nothing, and now he's overwhelmed. His problem is not clients. His problem is too many clients.
Right.
And so he's got a process problem. He's got a factory problem of being able to process all the new clients that he's getting.
Right.
So it's great for me because, yay, all the work that we've been doing for you is working. I mean, you're upset, he's upset, but not upset with us. He's just upset because he's trying to figure out how to make this work. And that's why I turned him on to you, because I'm sure that you can help him get that working. Because
I mean, it's you can't pay attention to one without paying attention to the other, right? In other words,
it's a class
business, if you don't have the capacity, you're going to drive yourself insane. And look, if you're too overwhelmed with business and it makes it so that you're not very good at what you do, whether it's communication or legal services or whatever, but we're good at marketing. The problem is we speed up the pace at which we tell the world we're not very good at what we do, right? So we have to make sure we're really good at what we do. And I don't just mean the legal stuff. I mean, like, the processes and the communication. I mean, 90% of client satisfaction comes from client communication.
Yeah, yeah,
and making sure
100%.
that the satisfaction is there. So or transparency about what's going on is there. And so we just you have to build both simultaneously. And oftentimes one outruns the other. Sometimes we have more clients coming in than we have capacity to handle, which is my preferred methodology, incidentally.
Right.
And sometimes we have more capacity than we have clients because we've bulked it up a little bit.
Sure.
And I'm okay with that as long as we have a clear path to generating more clients. And so, it's just, again, that's a business hat, right?
Right.
The business hat of being able to look at that and go, oh, here's what's going, how do I balance this? The lawyer hat is very myopic, looks, at the particular case matter, how they solve the client problem for their client, which is what I need them to do as a lawyer. But as a business owner, I need them to be able to step back and go, okay, here's what's going on in my business from a 30,000 foot view. Here's the thing I got to go work on right now. And I try to teach them how to think that way.
Right. And they need that. And that's the thing is that, I've been talking about this forever. And I'm so glad that we're having this conversation, is because that, they went to school to become lawyers. That's what they know. They don't know business. They didn't go to business school. They didn't own funeral homes. They didn't own a digital marketing company. They don't understand business. They don't understand the simplest things about business. They don't understand how the marketing, and what happens is they turn to their buddies, or they turn to other people, or they read stuff online, and they go down, bad paths, and they just kind of like try and do it themselves, and they get themselves into trouble, or, and like my friend, knocked my mic out. Like my friend,
that's your wife's Italian coming out in you.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like my friend who thought that he could just figure it out. And, I guess what I'm trying to say is, just like me, like I'm not a lawyer. When I need legal help, when I need like I'm not an accountant, I need somebody that specializes in that stuff. We were just talking earlier, your son, Michael, by the way, everybody, Richard James' son, Michael, is Dynamo. You'll meet, if you're going to go to GLM Summit this year, you'll meet Richard and Michael Strock on stage. What a tremendous kid you got there. I just want to say that. And
thank you for saying that. That's kind of you. Maria and I get very little credit. He was born this way.
Yeah, but the point, and what I'm trying to say is, like, he has perfected this sales methodology, and I'm talking to him about, well, what can you do to help me? And the point is, like, nobody knows everything, and nobody is good at everything. And right now, I am actually talking to all of my SEOs. I've got a bunch of them. I got like 15 SEO. I'm going to all of them to find out what their specialty is, so I can get better. I'm constantly, getting. And I guess my point here is that you, lawyer out there that's listening to this podcast, you do not need to be the one that does everything.
That is a great point, right? You need to lean on, you can't do it alone. It's impossible. Right. We say systems should run your law firm and people should run your systems. And those people can be internal to the firm, right? They can be your employees, or they can be external to your firm, and they can be, third-party vendors like Tom's organization and Michael's organization and other vendors that can actually get things done for you. Sometimes there's a premium to pay, but I will tell you that it's oftentimes much less expensive than trying to operate without a system. And here's the other thing I want to mention. I have there's some players out there in the world that in the legal world that give advice to lawyers, that give really bad advice.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up, because I was about to say, like, there's bad actors out there.
There are. You have to be careful. For me, my litmus test is have you done it yourself? Like, can you show me that you've actually accomplished it yourself? And let's define this. So in a law firm setting, I'm not talking about gross numbers, because that's the other thing I think is the little hidden evil. So many companies out there talk about, well, let's get you to $1 million, or let's get you to $2 million, or gross numbers. Those numbers are irrelevant to an extent if you're not making profit. You see, for me, it's about making sure we're maintaining profitability. So I'll tell any lawyer who's listening, if you're not keeping in a law firm setting, right now, we're still in the golden age of law firms. The non-attorney ownership hasn't stepped up yet. Regulation hasn't killed us yet. We're still in the golden age of a law firm ownership. If you're not keeping a total owner's benefit of at least 30% of the revenue that you're bringing into the bottom line, something's broken. I met with a firm the other day. They were doing they did $6 million in the first 7 months of the year, right? And they weren't keeping 10%. I met and growing rapidly, and they were taking the advice of growth, and it was going well from a growth perspective, but the owner made $4,000 last month. This doesn't work. We need to make sure the owner's profitable. No,
right.
But it's proliferated amongst out there in the world about topside gross numbers, gross revenue. Topside numbers are for vanity. Bottom side numbers are for sanity. It's so important that we make sure we watch our profitability.
That was great. That was a great quote.
So yeah, my point is, it's not about the investment for the third party to help you. It's not about the investment for your employee. Employees and third party vendors will help you either make money or save you money. So either figure how to save you money or make you money. And the superstars do both, right? And so what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to find great team members and great third parties that can help either run or install systems in our practice so that it can run it as optimum. And it allows us to still maintain our goal of, say, 30% total owner's benefit. And if we can do that whilst we're growing, and if we can do that by lifting the capacity, we can do that by growing the marketing and the sales simultaneously, little by little, we'll start to grow. I've got one firm has been with me for Cheapers over a decade now. And, when he first came with me, he goes, look, I don't want to grow at 100% a year. He goes, that's not my goal. He goes, give me 17 to 25% every single year. And guess what? 17 to 25% every single year means theoretically he's doubling somewhere around every 3 years, right? And so that means that when I first met him 10 years ago, if he was doing $1 million, that means that in 3.5 years, he's doing $2 million. In another 3.5 years, he's doing $4 million. And right now, guess what? Right now, he's doing about $4.5 million, right? With good profitability. So
good profitability.
Yes.
That's the point.
So it doesn't matter where you're at right now. And we have clients who have started with us. Some clients have come in and they were doing $2, $3, $4 million and they weren't making profitability. And what they needed to figure out was how to get profitable. And we've had some firms that have come in. One of the EAY finalists, Matt Davis and his wife, Kylie, from Alabama this last year, they decided to start a bankruptcy firm in 2020. Like the worst time in the history of bankruptcy firms of all like the lowest filing numbers in the history of bankruptcy firms. He decided to start a bankruptcy firm and grew his firm from 0 clients filed a month in 2020 to, I think we're in 2022. Last month, I think he filed 30 or 31 cases in under like 18 or 19 months. It's mind blowing. So like you can use these formulas to start from the ground up, or you can use these formulas kind of where you're at. I would tell you, I think there's not an easier way, but you got to remember, like when you do this, Tom, it's kind of like changing the brakes on the car as you're driving down the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The machine is moving and you got to put these changes in. So I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat anybody and tell you, oh, this is easy. No, it's simple, but it's not easy. It comes with its complications. I wrote a great book on this.
It's complex. Yeah,
it's complex. I try to illustrate what this looks like, at least the tip of the iceberg. I've written 4 books. The last one that I wrote is called The Favor. And I actually wrote this as a parable. It was the hardest book I've ever written. And it's a story of an attorney in Phoenix and his journey and how he worked with me one-on-one to kind of fix his systems and the problems and the challenges and the employees and the clients and all the stuff he was going through as he was trying to make these changes. And it was hard. And I try to capture the hardness or the difficulty in this process. And so, by the way, if anybody wants any of my resources, they can go to my website and grab them. They're free. Happy to help you. But, if
that's
I can,
yourbussinessautomated.com.
Yeah, probably the best place to go. The easiest one to remember is therichardjames.com. I couldn't get richardjames.com because I was a saxophone player. I had to put the in front of it. So he got to it before I did. So therichardjames.com and there's resources on there.
richardjames.com.
But look, the key to this whole thing is if you get the right guy or gal with the right mindset and they're willing, boy, it's fun to watch it happen. And then when they line up with great third-party vendors like yourself to help them get things done, it's special to watch. It really is. It's fun. I every week I get a report of all of my members and all of what they did. We have a very strategic formula about how we go about this. Anyway, we know what they did every week. And so my report that's given to me is highlights of what everybody did every week. And then I sit down at my desk every week and I write out some, congratulation notes to them to tell them, let them know I'm proud of them. Right. And that's like the most fun thing I get to do all week long. Like just sit down and congratulate my members on the success that they've experienced in the last week. Because look, it's a marathon march, and there's going to be some days when your best, your number one attorney and your number one paralegal and your number one assistant walk in and quit at the same time because the number one attorneys decided that they're going to go open their firm and they stole the paralegal and stole the assistant. And oh, by the way, walked out with a fistful of your clients. And there was nothing you can do about it. It's going to be a lousy day and it's not going to be fun. But as long as you own the systems and you know how to rebuild it, you can actually get stronger from that. And all that meant was we had the wrong person and we didn't either hire right, or maybe we weren't as great of a leader as we should be, or maybe a combination of both, or maybe they were just a jerk. It doesn't really matter. None of that matters because once we own the knowledge of how to build it, we'll build it twice as fast and twice as strong. So the difficult days make the good days better. And with the right mindset and the right individual running a law firm, really special things.
You can overcome anything.
The other thing, Tom, overcome anything. You know this, and I know this. Like we talk about the business side and we talk about the cash flow side, but you know it because you see it all the time. Our clients, lawyers, they really do, in my opinion, I wear my faith on my sleeve, but they really do God's work, right? They do some amazing things for their clients. Whether it's a business to business transactional, helping somebody set up the proper formation of their company, or it's a family law firm that's finally letting a mom get their kids back, or it's a bankruptcy firm that takes the guy who had medical bills from his sick bride and got so far underneath that he just felt like he was drowning in debt, and they saved him from that. Or if it's a guy who made a mistake on a DUI and was up against the law and a good quality attorney came alongside him and helped him get his first break and he didn't repeat it again. Or it's an immigration attorney that helps somebody get their green card. The good work that these guys and gals do, right? It's so much. They don't deserve to make lousy pay and have a lousy life. They just don't, because they just serve our community in a way that needs to be served. And they get a bad rap. We get that, right? Lawyers get a bad rap out there in the community. Sometimes deservedly so, because some of them, there are bad eggs in every basket. Right?
There's some, there's all bad apples everywhere. But I agree with you 100%. They're kind of the warriors of, that we go to when we have a problem, and they save us from a lot of headaches. That's for sure.
Oftentimes save us from ourselves.
Exactly. I can tell you, personally, I have got, and of course, when you get a lawyer, they become one of your cherished, most beloved friends because they have saved you from some terrible tragedy or turmoil or emotional distress or financial distress or something like that. You're 100% right. Lawyers do the good work. And, really, it's our job. And that's why, I want to, that's why I wanted to partner with you all these years, Richard, is because I want to make sure, that my lawyers get the best advice, the best consulting about how to run their business from a guy like you, that it's done so well for so many others. So I encourage anybody that's listening to this that is struggling with their business, or if they're just curious about a better system or another system. Richard James has done it 10 plus years for 600 plus law firms, incredibly successful, very just astounding. Well done. And thank you so much for your good work, Richard.
It's my pleasure, Tom. But back at you, man. Look, Dan Kennedy told me a long time ago that you can't sell swamp juice in a perfume bottle and get really real results, right? So if you're gonna be not very good at what you do, there's no way you're gonna be around a long time. You've been doing this for 25 years, so you have to be doing a thing right or two, right? So as people are, if there's newbies listening to this and they're not a client of Foster Web Marketing and they're wondering where they should turn to. Look, somebody's been in this industry working with small law, as well as a host of other businesses through the years, in this particular realm for 25 years. They've forgotten more than they, know how to do at this point. Right. And so, you need to give them a shot. So look, it's hard to find the right partners. It's hard to find the right vendors. There's exactly. There's a cesspool of so much crap out there. And so if you've landed here and you're listening to this conversation, and I know our conversation wasn't as tactical as it was maybe hopefully inspirational or guiding, about what it is that's available to you. But, I implore you, you've landed at the right place. Tom's got a great podcast where he interviews real people who can make a real difference in your practice. And so plug in.
Well, thank you, Brad. Thank you for saying that. And people you can go to therichardjames.com.
Yep.
There's a ton of resources. A great looking website, by the way. I just want to compliment you on that.
Thank you, sir.
I reviewed it. It looks great. I love the way it's laid out. You got great videos there. Very great style. You got great style of your jacket. Great style.
Again, my wife dresses me, my friend. I get no credit. I probably need, I could use Garanimals for men. You know what I mean? I just, I'm not great at that. My wife says, I says, why do I struggle to see colors the way you do? She goes, the same way your attorneys struggle to see numbers the way you do. Like, oh. That's funny. Okay. That's got it. Okay. Understood.
And you are also speaking at Great Legal Marketing this year.
Yeah. Heroes and Icons. I'm going to get to share the stage with my son. Are you kidding me? How exciting is that going to be? I'm just going to tee it up for him and let him run. And maybe my white hair, no hair will give him a little bit of credibility. But once they hear him talk, they're going to realize that he doesn't need my credibility. But hopefully he will give them some insight as to the right things they need to do. He's going to be talking about the 5 shifts they really need to pay attention to, and give some real pointed information and guidance about what it is they need to do to improve their sales process in the consult room, which is where if you can make a difference in the consult room and you can change your conversions from wherever you are right now. And most small law firms are usually under 50%, even though they all think they do really well. When they actually measure it, they realize they're under 50% conversion. And you can move that needle to north of 70%. Boy, it makes a huge difference to the bottom line quickly. No new marketing, no new advertising, no new spend. All you do is change the process in the consult room.
Change the process,
and you make more money.
Right?
So show, come to Great Legal Marketing, Ben Glass, Charlie Mann. They're going to put on a great presentation. If you haven't already booked your ticket for that, I highly recommend it. Michael and I will be there, and yeah, look forward to seeing everybody.
I'm having Michael on the podcast here in a couple of weeks too.
Oh,
So,
cool. Well, that'll be a great. He's got a fun story. You'll enjoy that.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I'm
saving that.
Ask him about. Here. I'll give you a tidbit. Ask him about the time that he pitched the landscaper on selling the landscaper customers, but Michael not actually having to do the work, just getting paid by making the sale, and the landscaper goes and does all the work. Ask him about that one day. He was 13 years old. Great story. Yeah. This is how I knew that my son had it at that point. Yeah.
13 years old. Very good. Well, Richard, hey, thank you so much. It was great to see you. Great talking to you. I appreciate you. I will see you in Nashville at the GLM Summit. I'm sure I'll talk to you before then. Everybody, it's been Richard James. It's been such a pleasure having you on the show. It's been Tom Foster on the World of Marketing. Anything else you want to say, Richard, before we go?
No, just appreciate you having me on. And, look, if sometime in the future you want to do some more tactical conversations or whatever for your audience, if they feel they want it, happy to come back and give you some real tactical nuts and bolts kind of information they could take away and use right away. Happy to do that.
That's a great idea. We'll do another podcast with tactics.
Sounds good. All right, my friend.
Okay, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Sounds good, Richard. Thank you so much.